So it's been a tough couple of years for the video game industry amid a ton of layoffs that has been going on for so long now, and we don't know whenever it's going to end. We're also seeing the rising use of AI in video games, which is also one of the main reasons why these layoffs are taking place. And in case you didn't know, a ton of actors and voice actors have gone on strike with SAG-AFTRA in July, which means that we won't be hearing anything officially from a ton of voice actors. For example, we have a lot of people who want to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard that's coming out this year. Unfortunately, the voice actors just can't say anything about it and they can't promote the game because they're on strike. Now, amid this very serious situation, there is one figure in particular that has been getting clowned on in recent days, and for very good reason, it would seem. So in a recent interview with IGN, the one and only CEO of Amazon Gaming, Christoph Hartmann, essentially gave his own take on this entire AI situation. First of all, IGN asked this. It's interesting because the SAG-AFTRA voice actors were explicitly calling a strike in part because they were seeking AI protections. And you were just talking about how AI is a way to streamline processes. Have you been monitoring that strike? Do you have thoughts on it? And Hartmann responds with, yeah, we have. I mean, I got to be careful what is here because we are a big company and have to deal with all of these organizations, so I don't really want to get into the middle of it. That's an unfortunate line right there. But when we talk about AI, first of all, hopefully it will help us to have new gameplay ideas, which has nothing to do with taking work away from anyone. And especially for games, we don't really have acting. The majority of the team sits in programming, and that's not going to go away because that's all about innovation. If it takes something, it will be the really boring parts. I think what could be super helpful is localization. Right now, we're localizing our game into a certain set of languages. Basically, it does commercially make sense to have it in a language, yes or no. Having AI actually will help us. So essentially, what Christoph is saying here is, if I'm reading this correctly, games, to him, supposedly does not have acting. Now, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here and say that he's probably talking about Amazon's games. And as far as I know, Amazon Games doesn't really have a major lineup of games. For example, if we check their webpage, we have Throne of Liberty, never heard of it. New World, heard of that. Lost Ark, King of Meat, Blue Protocol, and, well, some other games in development. Now, no matter how you see it, whether he's just speaking for Amazon Games or just the entire industry, that's a completely befuddling thing to say. And unfortunately, what this signifies, at least to me, is that Christoph Hartmann at least doesn't seem to view acting as an important part in game development. And this is super unfortunate because, one, that makes me wonder if he is actually a gamer, and two, I'd say that there are performances in video games that rival some of the best acting in Hollywood. Now, of course, this has riled up a fair number of people online. First of all, we have some responses here from Atikin, who says, what does Amazon even know? Their games have flopped. Now, I don't want to say that this is specifically all of Amazon that's saying this. I think that a lot of people on Amazon probably disagree with Mr. Christoph here. But it's interesting to see that people are genuinely upset with this, this statement. We have Harv saying that's why nobody plays games from Amazon. Connor Rhodes says for games we don't really have acting is peak level of delusions. What in the actual did I just read? Then we have Reno here saying, even if you support AI being used in game development, it's still inappropriate to say we don't really have acting when clearly we've had some of the best acting out there in gaming for a very long time. It's so dismissive, disrespectful, and flat out wrong. And I think Reno brings up a good point here in that AI is not completely worthless. It can be used for various things, such as, some of the things that Christoph says in the article, some of the boring parts, I guess, some of the programming, I guess, but that is essentially the boring parts, writing scripts, writing the story, and then having actors perform their dialogues and stuff. That's not the boring parts. And let's not forget about localization, because he says that as well, that they want to use AI for localization. Now, localization and translation are nearly the same thing. Most of you probably already know that by now, but localization is more about making the sentence that you're trying to translate make sense and make it emotional or make it interesting. Localization is all about making sure that the sentence that you're trying to translate, or the dialogue you're trying to translate, or whatever you're trying to translate actually makes sense and conveys what you're trying to convey to the player. And I just don't think that AI is able to do this. Nevertheless, do I want AI to do that job? Because I want localizers to do that job, because they're humans. Again, I don't necessarily have a problem with AI as a concept, but for this type of artistic work, like what gaming is, I don't think saying that acting is not important is gonna help you in the long run. Now, for some of the retweets, we're seeing some real bangers here. Nicholas Kurpiel says here, for games we don't really have acting, in quotes, yeah, tell that to Yuri Lowenthal and everyone who voices characters in the Spider-Man games. Their performances are absolutely phenomenal, and there's a video of Yuri Lowenthal acting his absolute best in The Amazing Spider-Man 1, where he's saying goodbye to Aunt May. Sorry for the slight spoiler there, but the scene is incredibly emotional. I get emotional just thinking about it. Imagine if this was made by an AI.
I don't know what to do.
Yes, you do.
We have various other retweets here. We have Shadowmine saying, I guess the CEO of Amazon Games doesn't play games. I tend to agree. And here we see a clip from Alan Wake 2. Then we have Luke Kassinger here retweeting. I'm just going to leave this right here. And we see some very memorable characters here for various reasons. Of course, we have Ellie, Kratos, Arthur Morgan, for example. Abby, I can't say because I haven't played The Last of Us 2 yet. And I'm not sure if I want to. But the point being is that a lot of these performances, these are just some of the examples. Even if we just go back, 15 years now to Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 1, even Mass Effect 3, like all of these games have incredible performances by a lot of voice actors, despite maybe not being up to par in the cinematic department as some of these newer games, obviously, because they are newer. And what I find really funny here is that the one and only Cory Barlog, who was the director for God of War 2018, retweeted with, I'm sorry, what now? I just want to bring up another very excellent example. If any of you played Baldur's Gate 3, which I assume a lot of you did, you would know how Astarion's loyalty quest or his personal quest ends. And if you choose a certain path, you get one of the most memorable scenes I think I've seen in media ever. It's like Neil Newbon, the actor for Astarion, did such a tremendous job at portraying the pain Astarion goes through in this particular scene. And statements like this from Christoph Hartmann and other various CEOs in the gaming industry makes me wonder if any of them actually plays games at all. We also have Ben Daves here who says with one sentence he just told the entire games industry he's incredibly unqualified for this position. And I gotta say that I agree. What we need in gaming is leadership that actually sees things for what they are. People that are actually gamers, people that understand games to their core, who's not just trying to run a business. Sure, it's good to have business savvy people, but you need to care for your people as well. Look at somebody like Sven Vinke, for example, the dude who owns Larian. He has built his company from the ground up for many, many years now, and last year Larian released one of the biggest bangers of all time. Really, it's literally ranked as one of the best and greatest games of all time. And at Larian, they care tremendously for their staff and for their devs. And a lot of them have had their job positions for God knows how long, simply because Sven does not want to lose the generational knowledge that he's built up at the company. And Sven and some of the leadership at Larian are absolutely the type of people you want at the top of the gaming industry. Unfortunately, this guy at Amazon, I really had no idea who this guy was up until now. But if he's going to have some form of future in the gaming industry, he should probably think harder on what he has to say about things that are incredibly important to most gamers. Because this is just not going to age well. Anyway, I just want to mention that I normally do not cover stuff like this on this channel, but I really felt like I needed to talk about this because it just annoyed the hell out of me when I read it, and I thought that I just shared with you guys. But if you do want to see more content like this, remember to like the video, subscribe, and comment below what your thoughts are, as always. Mr. Rolton signing out.